Ho, 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 gentlemen. The holidays have come early this year as Manscaped have the gift that keeps on trimming. Santa's beard isn't so appealing when it's coming out of your trousers, and that's why Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have you covered this holiday season. Now available in your country, join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to keep their trees trimmed and ornaments polished. Go to manscaped.com and use code DTR for 20% off plus free shipping.
Stafford under pressure, and a tuck it, and he's in. Darrell Henderson, he's off and running. As Woods, touchdown. Cooper Kupp just went up and took it away.
Van Jefferson for the touchdown.
Aaron Donald smothers him. Jalen Ramsey with the pop up. Sacked by Leonard Floyd, having a day again.
Darius Williams with a diving hit. Jordan Fuller comes up with his second interception of the night.
All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm your host, Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co-host, Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you with our last recap episode for the regular season. The Rams finished out the season yesterday against the 49ers in Los Angeles and lost 24-27. And if you're listening to this episode, I assumed that you watched the game. So I'm going to assume that you know that at one point in the game, the Rams were up 17-0 and rocking and rolling. And we, towards the end of the first half, but mostly in the second half, just completely had a breakdown. And Jake and I are going to break down that breakdown for you guys, unfortunately. So my brief synopsis on this game is and Jake and I just got done talking about this before, we recorded, is the concern over the past couple of games has been Matthew Stafford. And I don't think that Matthew Stafford lost us this game. Matthew Stafford, and I know that Jake feels the same way, he didn't play the best game he's played this season. He did throw some picks, but at the same time, he started to rally towards the end of the game. And really, it seemed like our defense, who had kept us in the game, previous games in the season, broke down in the second half, and the play calling broke down. And it was kind of the same story, Jake, of, we talk about Sean McVay does not have the bounce back ability, right? He is statistically and historically not good at the comeback. He has to come out and get the huge lead in order to keep it. He's not, there's not much fighting adversity. And in this game, we saw, getting up 17-0 and then ending up losing 27-24, Jake. There just seemed to be no adjustment, and there seemed to be no consistency from this Rams team, particularly the defense. And I want to hear your thoughts on this. And I want you to start with the play call, which is something that you touched on a lot in your personal conversations with me and on Twitter. In the fourth quarter, third and 7. I think it was 3rd and 7. I might be wrong on that. And we ran the ball, playing super conservative and then not going for it on 4th down. Jake, in your opinion, was that the breaking point of the game? I mean, I know we had already kind of given up our massive lead at that point. And if not, what was it that caused the Rams to lose this game?
Yeah, so it absolutely was. And, I think when you go back and you look at that, and I was getting into it with people on Twitter because I'm tired of the whole analytics community saying this is how it should be done. This because you get rid of the timeouts. Well, Alexis, at least we got rid of their timeouts, right? How about that? No more timeouts for the Niners. Oh, wait, they won the game. It doesn't freaking matter. So my issue with this is that you get rid of the timeouts, but you only take 14 seconds off the clock. You might as well just punt it on 1st down if you were going to do that. It didn't matter about the timeouts. They didn't need them. Next, on top of that, then the defense plays prevent. So you're playing this prevent defense. You did not take off enough time. They were playing defense, Alexis, as if they had when they got the ball. Because keep in mind this, they had the ball at the 12-yard line, their own 12-yard line. They went down 88 yards. They had the ball with 1:27 to go. That's way too much time to be playing prevent. So they play prevent defense here, and I mean, they were able to score with 26 seconds remaining in the game. So what it tells me is that they went way too conservative on both fronts. They went conservative on offense because here's the thing, okay? The 49ers defense really didn't do a good job of stopping Matthew Stafford. His interception, the first interception of the game, was just a bad decision to throw into double coverage, to Ben Skoranek. And then the last interception, OBJ has the guy beat. He just underthrew it. It wasn't a good play made by the defensive back. If anything, it helped him because he actually got burned to the point where an underthrow would be a pick. Now, my point here is that they weren't able to stop the passing attack of the Rams, and it was evident. And so now you're telling me you're going to get cute here. You're going to do what they know you're going to do. You're going to give them the ball back because, we got to go by the book. The book says run the ball, and then punt. Well, here's exactly what happened. They go into 13 personnel grouping, 1:50 left in the game in the fourth quarter, 1st and 10 at the LA 40. So keep that in mind as well. The Rams, they get a huge stop. Von Miller gets a key sack with 2:02 left to go. A 9-yard loss for the Niners. Now, because their punter got hurt, you have Robbie Gould, their kicker, punting. He punts it 43 yards. Powell Fair catches it, but to be honest with you, if the game wasn't where it was, he could have taken that thing probably 15, 20 yards. So he gets the fair catch. Rams have the ball at the 50. They put in Noteboom and Shelton. They go 13 personnel grouping. They run left tackle for 2 yards. Sony Michel. Okay, I get it. Run the football, whatever. They call a timeout. Then on 2nd and 8, keep that in mind, that's only been 4 seconds that you've taken off the clock. 2nd and 8, they go left tackle, and it goes for a yard. They call a timeout. That took 4 seconds off the clock. Okay? So now 3rd and 7 at the LA 43 with 1:40 to go. If you throw a pass and you get the first down, then you are probably looking at ending the game. But instead, you go with that conservative nonsense. You run left tackle for 2 yards, and you only take literally 6 seconds off the clock on that play. Alexis, what I'm getting at here is you might as well just have had Matthew Stafford drop back on all 3 of those plays, and they would have taken off just as much time, if not more time, and the Niners still would have used their timeouts. You were scared, you played not to lose, and you ended up putting yourself in a position to lose, and you ended up losing. And that is the thing that bothers me so much. Johnny Hecker gets a nice 43-yard punt, San Francisco 12. They go the mile, but it goes back to their conservative play calling setting the tone. Von Miller and that defense have just gotten them off the field in a huge way. They stifled the Niners. The Niners, keep this in mind, with 1:56 to go in the game, down 1 touchdown. They have to tie the game, and they were in such a predicament, such a bad spot, where the Rams defense did such a good job. They pushed the Niners to punting with under 2 minutes to go when they were down by 7, Alexis, and that is insane. The Rams have no excuse. They needed 1 first down, and they decided to go with that analytical, let's just, get rid of their 3 timeouts. And then, of course, we're going to punt it right back to them. No. Essentially, they just assumed they were going to win the game. They assumed they had it in the bag, and they assumed wrong. And even still, they had a chance. The defense gave up 88 yards. They gave up an 88-yard drive. And essentially, starting at the 12-yard line, Garoppolo throws a pass short right to Brandon Ayuk, and it goes for 21 because, apparently tackling was optional for the Rams in this game. Then The next play, 1:07 to go. They're at the 33. Niners get a 5-yard pass to Juwan Jennings, who honestly it would have been better if he just dropped the pass for them. That took, I'm not kidding you, that took like 10 seconds off the clock there. That was not, actually more. It took 15 seconds off the clock. So the Rams are, at that point, they're feeling good, and their winning percentage, their projection is really high. And then they throw a deep pass to Deebo Samuel for 43 yards that gets it down to the LA 19 with 34 seconds to go. Garoppolo spikes the ball. They have the offsides penalty on Floyd, and then the Rams call a timeout. Garoppolo passing complete short middle to Deebo Samuel, still at the LA 14. 2nd and 5. Juwan Jennings pass from Jimmy Garoppolo, 14 yards, and they leave the guy wide open. So this prevent defense, all it did was allow them to drive the course of the field with no issue whatsoever. You're giving them yards, and then you couldn't even stop them in the red area. They gave up a wide open opportunity for Juwan Jennings. See, it's inexcusable on both fronts, but this comes down to their game plan, their approach. You know, they had it won. They had it won. If they get a first down, the game is over. And to be honest with you, Alexis, if they throw all 3 times, there's no way the Niners stop them. I'm just going to say that right now. Everyone wants to blame Stafford, like you were saying. You and I both don't, because we know what he had to do. And when you go back to the touchdown drive, the Niners have tied the game. It's crazy. The Rams start at their own 8-yard line. They get an 18-yard pass to Cooper Kupp. They have a negative 2-yard run with Cam Akers. Then they have a 6-yard pass to Cam Akers. Then they have a 30-yard pass to Kupp. So at that point, now they're past midfield. And now they get a face mask penalty. They have Michelle run for 14 yards. Then Michelle only gets 1 yard. Michelle gets 4 yards. And then the beautiful touchdown pass on 3rd and goal, back shoulder fade in the end zone, Cooper Kupp from Matthew Stafford. And with 2:29 the game, the Rams have taken the lead and they're at home. There's no excuse to lose this football game. They have all the momentum. And that's what I'll say about that. You can't blame Stafford. He made some incredible throws on that drive. And he was really good in this game. I think the offensive play calling was bad. I think the offensive line simply wasn't good enough. And I don't know what you expect Sean McVay to also do, when it comes to, Stafford, because, people were having an issue with him being in the shotgun. But I don't know what you're supposed to do when your running game is only averaging 2 yards per carry.
Yeah, I think what this comes down to, as we've touched on, the final minutes of the game obviously is where we really blew it, but we also blew it in the plays in the half leading up to that, because again, we at one point in the game were up 17-0. We at one point in the game were dominating the 49ers. We were fluid on offense and defense. We had a sack, we had interception. Like I said, we were rocking and rolling. Everything was going our way. And it seemed like when we came out in the second half, we just didn't show up to play. And statistically, you can look at the stats. That's what it appears like. Again, if you watch the game, you saw that. It was like the defense didn't understand that we had to play 2 halves. We were leaving guys, wide open, and they were getting yards after catch, and they were beating defenders. And of course, the question about the scheme comes up. Well, guys, a scheme isn't going to teach defensive players how to tackle, and it's not going to make them tackle. We had, again, major tackling issues. We let someone who no Rams fan can stand, Deebo Samuel, absolutely run all over us, which was very annoying. We touched on in the preview episode, this is, Deebo Samuel is the number 2 statistically wide receiver in the NFL right now behind Cooper Kupp. So you'd think that we would maybe be a little prepared for that. It didn't seem that we were. It just seemed like we totally collapsed on defense. And then I'm going to touch on our offensive line, but I want to stick on the defense for a second. Our defense, as I mentioned earlier, has been what's been keeping us in these games, because our offense seems to always get self-sabotaged by either Stafford or Sean McVay. And we've really relied on our defense this season to keep us in the game and to step up. And we saw what happens when they don't. Yesterday, we saw what happens when our defense looks lost. Whether it was the 49ers game plan, which it didn't even seem like that. It just seemed like our defense straight up could not tackle or make plays and didn't know what to do. I don't have anything else to say about that. It just was really, really bad. When they can't get it together, it's like we can't have faith in Sean McVay to get it together and keep it together, because again, then he makes those really weird play calls, or, not in this game, but historically Matthew Stafford makes really bad decisions. So it was just kind of a perfect storm in the sense of everything not going our way with no one to blame but ourselves. Again, I'm in the belief that if you were ever up in a football game 17-0, 99% of the time it's going to be your fault if you blow it, especially when you go back and look at how the Rams ended up playing. It was 150% their fault. I want to touch on the offensive line a bit, because when our defense started collapsing, so did our offensive line. And here's my belief. Anyone who knows me and who follows me on Twitter and who listens to our podcast and watched our draft stream during the draft this year knows that my number one concern has been our offensive line. There's a lot of Rams fans that told me to chill out and that we were going to be fine, and our offensive line was superior, and they were naming stats and analytics and all this stuff. But our offensive line, again, maybe it's just a thing with the Rams, but the resiliency is not there. They completely collapsed against the 49ers, and the 49ers have a good defensive front. They're not amazing, but the Rams should not have collapsed in the way that they did, Jake. We were getting beat, specifically Brian Allen, but all across the board, our offensive line was collapsing. We didn't give Stafford much time to throw the ball. And when you're not giving a quarterback who struggles with decision-making like Matthew Stafford enough time to throw the ball, it's a recipe for disaster. And thankfully, he made the most of it. We saw those plays towards the end of the second half. But Jake, is the offensive line something to worry about? Do you think they just, for whatever reason, had kind of a breakdown this game and they're going to get it together? Or are they going to have to do a complete rework of their game plan going against the Cardinals next week if they want to be successful?
Prize Picks is the best app you've never heard of. You can choose between stars from all sports, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 players to increase how much money you win. Join Prize Picks today by using our promo code DTRAMS and get a double deposit on your first deposit when signing up with Prize Picks.
Girls, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of finding a bush when I go down in my man's chimney. Dear Santa, all I want this holiday season is for my man to have smooth jingle balls. Thankfully, Manscaped answered with the Performance Package 4.0, so I don't have to find Santa's beard in my man's pants again. Ladies, this holiday season, get your man products that will leave him smelling fresh with their all-new ultra-premium body wash and a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. It's time to give the man in your life the gift of beautiful skin, hair, and balls this holiday season. Go to manscaped.com and use code DTR for 20% off plus free shipping.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've been a top 5 offensive line for the majority of the season, but it has been these type of games, Alexis, where you go back, you look at the Titans game. I mean, you and I both like Jeffrey Simmons coming out of college, but I mean, was Jeffrey Simmons like, the next Mean Joe Green, Deacon Jones, Merlin Olsen? I mean, I don't think so. And he looked that way. We also like Danico Autry. You and I both thought he was a good player coming into that game. He's somebody that I highlighted in the preview. I mean, we didn't think that he would just light the world on fire, but he did in that game. And I think that's the thing is when you look at the Niners, they have some players, in their defensive front, but I mean, Nick Bosa, as great as he is, the Rams should not have been this abysmal on the offensive line. This was inexcusable. I mean, this performance is one of the worst I've ever seen. The fact of the matter is this honestly makes Stafford's game more impressive, in my opinion, Alexis, because he was just battling, had no offensive line, had no run game to speak of. So really, the Niners knew what they were going to do. They knew what the Rams could do. And the Rams were still able to throw all over them. So, I think ironically, the thing that really ended up being the Rams' downfall in the first game, when they lost 31-10, when they abandoned the run, and they became super one-dimensional, actually ended up becoming their downfall in this game was it was the run game, but it was actually running the ball too much. I think Sean McVay tried so hard to establish the run in the second half where, it wasn't working. And I understand it's hard to just pull the plug, but I would have been okay with it because it just simply wasn't working. You didn't get a 10-plus yard run from Sony Michel until the final drive, the second to last drive in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, that's kind of how I look at it, is that, really they weren't able to do anything, and they were sacrificing their momentum just to try to get the run going. So it's one of those weird instances where that did indeed happen. But no, this offensive line has to step up. I mean, we saw, Alaric Jackson at left tackle step up in need without Whitworth. We've seen other guys, Coleman, Shelton, the whole nine. I'll be honest with you, if they bench Brian Allen, I'm totally for it. He has not been the same since he's come back. I think Coleman Shelton has been the better player. I understand Brian Allen has that Pro Bowl alternate title now, but sorry, hate to break it to you, that was not good enough. And he was getting absolutely baptized in the middle. I thought David Edwards played his worst game of the year. Really just not a good performance from the offensive line that we have come to kind of be. I guess we've kind of taken for granted because they have had a good season, but it's been those spurts, Alexis, where, against certain teams, they've just really not come to play. And, here's the problem is now you've put yourself in a position where you're going to have to play Arizona again, a team who, the Rams dominated them on Monday Night Football the first time, in Arizona, but Arizona also dominated them in LA. So, that could go either way. Then if you win, in all likelihood, you're going to Green Bay yet again to play the Packers in the divisional round. And then in all likelihood, you're either playing Dallas or you're playing, Tampa Bay, or maybe even the Niners in the NFC title game. So, here's the problem with that. Is that if you're doing these against these big teams, if that's when your offensive line just folds, it's not going to be enough to win a Super Bowl, because you're going to have to be able to win these games, and you're going to have to be able to have a run game and have to be able to have an offensive line. I don't put too much blame on Sony Michel, but I felt like there were times where I thought he could have been a little bit better. Personally, I'd be totally fine with Cam Akers starting next week. I would like to see Akers more. I think he's more of a threat out of the backfield as a pass catcher than Michel. But yeah, this was just not a good showing. And yeah, I think the offensive line definitely, I think the biggest issue with losing a game like this is, Alexis, we saw all across the league, teams have their kryptonite. We saw the Patriots lose to the Dolphins yet again to end the season. They actually got swept by the Dolphins this year. We also saw, the Colts get kicked out of the playoffs by the Jacksonville Jaguars. They haven't beaten Jacksonville since, I believe, Byron Leftwich was a quarterback in Jacksonville. So, there are teams that have those struggles against certain teams. The Rams' kryptonite is the Niners. And the problem with this game is, had it been a close game where they really just could never take control and it was always the Niners, I don't think we'd be upset as much. But the fact that they came out to a 17-0 lead, like you said, there's just no excuse. And it really almost nullifies everything they've done in this 5-game winning streak, because it makes you wonder how real this 5-game winning streak was. And, obviously they had a chance to still win the game despite not having a run game. If you want to look at silver linings wise, they had a chance to win the game even still, not being able to run the ball, not having an offensive line. But still, it's just, you have to be able to play better than this in week 18 of the season. And they had it and they totally let it go. And, I do think that while I want to give the offensive line the benefit of the doubt because they played well for the most part this season. I mean, like I said, they've been pretty much in the top 5 in standings all across. But the fact of the matter is this: if this is the new Rams, they're getting bounced this Monday night against the Arizona Cardinals at home. So hopefully this is not the new Rams, and hopefully this was just the Niners getting under their skin and getting in their head, which it doesn't make me feel great, but I can live with that, especially with the fact it's going to be wicked hard for them to play the Niners again this year. But if it's not that, and this was the new Rams, they are absolutely done.
I 100% agree. I mean, the way that we have played last night, and quite frankly, the past few games is not enough to win in the playoffs, and it's certainly not enough to win a Super Bowl. So, it's really concerning. And for me, it goes back to consistency. To me, this team lacks consistency for all 4 quarters of a football game. It's like there's never any fluidity. There's never, like, we talk about coming back and bouncing back. That's been a struggle of ours, but it just seems like it's so hot and cold. Whether it's the offense one game or the defense another game, we have these spurts of playing really, really well and everyone's showing their potential and we show what we can do. And then we completely collapse. And again, now the regular season is over. We have to focus on the playoffs, and we cannot do that in the playoffs. You have to be prepared for the Arizona Cardinals to come out and take advantage of the Rams' weaknesses, just like we should take advantage of their weaknesses. And again, we'll talk about that in our preview episode. But, Arizona completely embarrassed us the first time we met this season. We cannot let that happen again, and so that's one side of it. The other side of it is we completely, we beat the Cardinals. I won't say completely embarrassed. It was a little bit different, but when we had not a lot of players playing, when we had a lot of players on the COVID list, and then we come out and beat the Cardinals. So it's like with this team, it's like you never know which side you're going to get. And we have to hope that we're going to get their good side during the playoffs and that they're going to come out swinging and that, we beat a division rival in the wild card game. So very intense at SoFi. So, I think that's why it's a bummer. You don't want to take this energy and take this bad momentum into the playoffs. So I hope that the Rams can clear their heads. I hope that they can get it together. I hope that they have a good game plan for the Arizona Cardinals and that we can win. But Jake, there's really not a lot to say about it anymore because I don't want to, again, we don't want to bring negative energy into the playoffs. The end of the story is the Rams broke down against the 49ers. It was unfortunate. It was embarrassing. There's no excuse. And we just have to hope they got it out of their system. But I will say, Jake, wouldn't it have been nice to have Creed Humphrey in that game?
Wouldn't it have been nice to have Cooper Kupp break the freaking record? It's like they go to overtime and he doesn't even break the record. He just needed 18 yards. I mean, you have to be freaking kidding me. So, yeah, that pissed me off. I'm not like an records or everything guy, but you got to the overtime anyway. It just that sucked. But I just think that like I've said before, I still think this team wins the Super Bowl. I do think it was just the Niners game. But you and I like to talk about, the different scenarios and give people a true scope on, what if this is just the Niners game or what if this was the new Rams? And that's pretty much, I think we do a good job of that because, it's not just talking from, looking through one lens. We try to kind of play devil's advocate at times. And I think that's probably the best way to approach a loss in general, but definitely a loss like this where they gave up a 17-point lead. They honestly... The thing that should bug you to all hell, the thing that should bug you more than anything about this game besides losing is the fact the Rams up 17-0. They looked like the best team in football by a country mile. They looked like it finally all came together. So it was like fool's gold. That's why you should be upset. Not even just the loss. The fact that the first half, they looked like they were a well-oiled machine. They were ready for the playoffs. I said it on Twitter. I probably jinxed it, so you can hate on me for that. But I said on Twitter, Alexis, this defense looked like Brandon Staley's defense last year to start the game. I know people forgot about that because the way they started tackling in the second half and how putrid they played. But they looked amazing in the first half. The Rams offense was clicking on all cylinders. I mean, I just, that's how I look at it, is that they really had a chance to just dominate this team, to end their season the way they did to the Rams in 2019. And they failed. But furthermore, they kind of teased that they were taking this dramatic turn and turning into this unstoppable force because we've said it all year. This team's 12-5 now, but I mean, how many times do you look at this offense and even when they win and they score 30, it feels like they could have scored 30, 38 or 45 or even gotten in the 50s. This team hasn't even come close to the 50s, really. So, I just think it's one of those things where you see what the offense was doing. You see the defense collectively, working together up 17-0 and to blow a 17-0 lead and lose at home and only score 7 points in the second half. and it came down to, the final 2 drives. It's just brutal, and then watching, on Sunday Night Football, you watch Justin Herbert lead his team back down, 29-13, and he leads his team back and they tie the game. Like there was 5-6 minutes left in the game. He leads them back. They tie the game. They go to overtime. They still get the field goal to tie it. I mean, that hurt, but I'm not even upset with the way the Rams play in overtime, because let's call it like it is. The Rams offense in overtime had 2 minutes when they got the ball. I mean, the Niners almost ran the entire overtime period out, So, yeah, it hurts, but, I'm just trying to look at it in a way of it's probably just the Niners, and I understand that's weird, but, if you want to win the Super Bowl, you might not even have to beat the Niners at this point. So that's how you should go each game. Don't look too far ahead, but, this Cardinals game is huge. Obviously, they their season's over if they lose, but it's also on Monday Night Football, and I hate that it's on Monday night, but that's also where the Rams went into Arizona and really dominated them. So we'll see.
Yep. Well, we will see, and we will be back later this week with a preview episode for a matchup against the Cardinals. And guys, it's playoff time. So let's put all of this behind us. Let's focus on Arizona, and I'm ready. I love playoff football, and I'm excited to not only watch the Rams, but to watch everyone else this weekend. We got 3 straight days of football, so we can't complain about that. But guys, as always, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheAlexisCraft, and you can follow Jake at JKBogan. And we will be back in a few days. But until then, guys, stay safe, take care, and go Rams. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DTR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and make sure to use code DTR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Prize Picks is the best app you've never heard of. You can choose between stars from all sports, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 players to increase how much money you win. Join Prize Picks today by using our promo code DTRAMS and get a double deposit on your first deposit when signing up with Prize Picks.